Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder when I head out for a stroll and deliver an episode to you while I walk around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. It is a gloomy Friday morning here in suburban Chicago. The cloud cover is dark and oppressive. The weather is a little on the misty side. My neighbor is digging trenches in his front yard. I'm not sure whether he's fortifying or perhaps preparing to plant some bushes. Probably the latter. So today I thought I would talk about something that I know I've been mentioning in my top of the stack update at the end of the month, but I haven't really elaborated on very much, and it feels like a fun time to talk about it. And this is the list of the 52 game challenge. So if you haven't gone over to the top of the stack report and followed the link, I found this thing through, I think, a reference on the Blue Peg Pink Peg forums. Some friends there recommended this thing as something they do. It's called the 52 game challenge. It's a list of 52 separate prompts for you to pick a game that does something. The idea is over the course of a year, you'll play 52 different games that do 52 different things along the lines of the challenge. That's kind of the idea of the proposal. And so my plan here is to talk about that list a little bit in case you haven't gotten a chance to go look at it. I'm also going to talk about, I've completed 22 games out of the 52. So I think I'm ahead of the curve. Yeah, because 26 would be halfway, and I guess calendar-wise I have to be halfway by the end of June. So we're well ahead of the curve that way. So what I'm going to do is go through the 52 game prompts, and I'll talk about the ones I've completed and what I'm thinking about for the ones. So to begin with, the first three are connect 3 games, either by place or by some special content. And I have not picked those yet. A couple options I have would be like maybe Uwe Rosenberg games, so connected by, well, it doesn't say by designer, it says by some special content or by place. Not sure. I haven't yet figured out what those 3 games will be. Number 4, play a game which ends when a resource depletes. I'm sure this is a thing I have done so far, but I haven't documented it yet. I guess a game of Roll for the Galaxy or Race for the Galaxy where those little tokens run out. Now here's my question. If I play Roll for the Galaxy and the game ends because somebody built 12 things, does that count for this? Because it is a game that does end when the resource depletes. Or do you think it means have an instance of a game where the game ends because the resource depletes? I don't know. Play a game with constructed 3D components. I marked Everdell of that, 2nd of January. Number 6, play a game that has inspired a common phrase or idiom. I don't know what that's going to be. I mean, maybe something like Monopoly or Scrabble. One of these games that's really, oh, my son likes Battleship. I should make sure to play Battleship. You sunk my battleship is a common enough phrase to fit that, I think. Play a game that scares you is number 7. Number 8, play a game about a culture you are unfamiliar with. That's interesting because those aren't generally the kinds of games I enjoy that much. But maybe something there. Number 9, I've completed. Play a game that takes place in 2 different time periods. I said Brass Birmingham because, you have that era shift there. Number 10, play a game with a game where you find an anagram from a word in a title that gives you directions for a second game. So in other words, you're supposed to take one game, make an anagram out of that game title, and then play another game prompted by that anagram. So I've completed this. My first one was Broom Service. The anagram for Broom Service that I got is Microbes Rove. And I decided Microbes Rove is about the Black Plague, thus we played Ratus and completed those 2. Number 12, group pick. Name 5 games and ask other members in the challenge to vote for the game you want to play. So I put up 5 games I might like to try solo. Robinson Crusoe, A Feast for Odin, Clans of Caledonia, Founders of Gloomhaven, Merchants of Venus. And so far I've got 8 votes and A Feast for Odin is winning. So I may play that solo sometime this year. As you've already guessed, this isn't necessarily play games you haven't played before. It's not strictly new games. It's just a play of a game. Play a game with one character from a different game. We played Watson and Holmes on April 5th. Both of those are characters in lots of games. Number 14, I have not completed. Play a game that will take you out of your comfort zone. I'm not even sure how to do that. Maybe a hardcore war game? Number 15, we've completed. Play a game with a map. I decided Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Carlton House, and Other Murders was a good one. It's got a map in it. Number 16, have not completed. Play a game with a clue weapon on the cover. Lead pipe, revolver, rope, candlestick, dagger, wrench. There's lots of games that could fit this. I just have to make sure to do one. Pay attention to it. Number 17, I have completed. Play a game with a title that is a whole sentence. And I chose It's a Wonderful World. Play a game with the same title as a movie or TV show, but unrelated to it. I chose Le Havre, which I've looked up. Turns out Le Havre is the name of a movie or TV show. It has nothing to do with being a merchant in the town of Le Havre. Play a game based on your favorite prompt from 2016. So I looked through that list, and there was one, game by a female designer, which we played Wingspan a number of times, so I marked that. I have not completed. Play a game with an onomatopoeia in the title. Onomatopoeia is, of course, the word that sounds like the thing it is, like bonk or buzz. So I haven't really figured out what game that would be. So we'll see. I'm not sure what game I could fit there. Play a game with a maximum of 20 game components. I picked Leviathan, which is the first game I played this year on January 1st. It has 18 cards. Play a game mentioned in a book. And I chose A Game of Thrones, the board game, which is mentioned in the scholarly book about board games, Gameplay. That's kind of cheap, but whatever. Play a game appearing in another game. Now, I haven't done that yet, although it occurs to me, I know that Agricola shows up in, what is it? Or Viticulture shows up in Euphoria. That would be a good one. Or I know that on the tables in the houses in one of my games, another game shows up. I feel like on the table in Dungeon Pets is Agricola, maybe? I'm gonna have to figure that out. So I haven't done that one yet, but there are a couple options. Play a game appearing in another game. All right. Number 24, I have completed this. Play a game with a liquid on the cover. I chose Trismegistus, the ultimate formula. There's a character holding a flask of some weird mix formula. Play a game. This one I have completed. Play a game set amidst an intense weather situation. I chose Dead of Winter, which is, of course, set in the dead of winter. Number 26, play a game with a location in the title. Orleans was my choice for that one, since Orleans is a city. We're more than halfway now. Number 27, 28, 29, and 30 I have not completed, so these 4 in a row. Play a game with an alternate history. Now, there are a couple games I've completed that could do this, like It's a Wonderful World is a game with an alternate history, but I've already used that game. So, yeah, I haven't really figured out what the answer would be here. I haven't played Scythe this year. Scythe would fit that. Play a game with a warm atmosphere. Love, friendship, summer, etc. Play a game about something celestial or containing something celestial in the title or designer's name. Moon, star, sun, planet. The easiest solution for this would be to knock the game Time Pirates off of my shelf of opportunity because it was designed by Alan Moon. Maybe I will do that. Number 30, play the first game you touch on your shelf with your eyes closed. I haven't tried that experiment yet. That would be really hard to cheat. I'll have to have someone spin me around. Wonder if I can, because I could cheat that maybe not. Number 31, play a game that passes the Bechdel test. I picked Buffy the Vampire Slayer for that one. You have multiple female characters talking about murdering vampires, so not talking about male characters. And they're all named, which are the things you need for a Bechdel test pass. 32, I have not completed. Play a game you picked because the cover caught your attention. That's interesting since I'm mostly playing games in my own collection. Maybe in the fall, when game clubs are meeting again and I have the opportunity to just go pick something based on the cover. That might be one. A game that's always intrigued me by its cover, Dead Men Tell No Tales. That would be a fun one to try. Play a game with more than 20 letters in the title. I picked Azul, Stained Glass of Sintra. That's more than 20 letters. I have not played a game with dice other than D6, although one of my son's games on his list this year is the Final Flick Tier. So I've just kind of been waiting for the next time we play that to solve that one. Number 35, play a game with a chilling atmosphere. I picked Obscurio, which has a kind of fantastical dark feel to it. Play a game that is set in a fictional location. Lords of Waterdeep, set in Waterdeep, the eponymous city. Play a game with a title, setting, or subject having to do with a museum. We played Elder Sign recently, and we played the base game, which takes place in the museum in Miskatonic. So, boom. There that is. Number 38, play a game with a natural disaster. I picked Spirit Island because there is a character in there with a tsunami card. That is a natural disaster, even though arguably in the game the tsunami happens because the spirit is making it happen. Thus, it's not natural, it's supernatural. But whatever. 39, play a game about the conflict of good versus evil. I may have ruined myself by picking all these other games that are about the conflict of good and evil and then playing them in different places. So I haven't figured out which game of mine would do this. At some point, almost once a year, I do get to play A Touch of Evil, which is certainly about good versus evil. That might be the answer to that one, but I haven't played it yet. Number 40, play a game about or with second chances or about starting a new life. I picked Carbon City Zero because that's about our civilization's second chance to create, to manage a good atmosphere. Number 41, for the next few I have not completed. Play 4 games linked by the 4 elements in title, cover, content, etc. So we have air, water, earth, and fire. Those are 41 through 44. I don't really understand how to do this. I may go and look at some of the other people doing the list and see how they've completed that, because other than picking 4 games that have those 4 elements in them, I don't know how they're linked by the 4 elements. That's odd. Play a game changer, a game that had a lasting effect on the board game, genre, people, or culture. I haven't really done that either. I don't know what that would be. You could maybe argue Gloomhaven has done that already. Play a game that is set in a city that has hosted the Olympics. I chose Nanty Narking for that one because it's set in London, an alternate history London, so that would have been an opportunity to fulfill the alternate history game. Yeah, the other thing I'm doing here is I'm not backing up. I don't let myself go back and reassign games. So like later, if I play London, for instance, which I certainly will do at some point, it's a favorite of mine, I don't get to go assign London to that space and move Nanty Narking. I already put Nanty Narking in that slot. Play a game featuring one of the 7 deadly sins. I mean, greed is probably the easiest one to do because there's a lot of games that feature greed. Now the question is, does the game actually have to feature it? Like say, here is the thing you're doing. I should look and see if I haven't assigned the Bloody Inn anywhere. That seems like the right choice because the Bloody Inn is certainly about greed. Okay. Number 48. Play a game set in the 1920s. I'm sort of waiting till I play Arkham Horror, the card game, because that one's set in the 20s. But there could be other games that I could play. Number 49. This one I have done. Play a game by a designer who designed at least 10 other games. I played 7 Wonders this year, and Antoine Bauza certainly has that moniker, or has that achievement of having designed 10 other games. Number 50, 51, and 52 I have not completed. So, play a game where you can or have to climb. I have a copy of K2. At some point I assume we'll play that, and that would solve that one. 51, play a game that takes place in more than one country. Again, this is something I could fulfill with multiple games, but I haven't yet done that. My neighbor and I often play Axis and Allies a couple times a year. So I imagine next time we play that, I will fulfill that requirement. And finally, play a game that is generally frowned upon. That one's interesting. I'm not even sure what that means. Generally frowned upon. Does that mean if I go play Monopoly? Generally frowned upon by whom? I guess is the big question there. Well, that's the list of 52 things for this year. I'm really enjoying doing it, using it as an alternate way to think about what games I might like to play and to consider my collection. So I will keep you up to date on how I'm doing, and maybe at some point I will go over the new ones that I've completed, or maybe I will, as I complete those each month, I could add those into my end of the month report, although the top of the stack is already a pretty full report. Well, as long as I've got a minute or two extra here, I'll share. I've managed to play this weekend, or the last couple days, I played 2 new expansions that I hadn't played before. One of them was actually missing from my Expand Your Shelf list, and that was the Wutai Mountain expansion for Motainai. Part of me feels like I played it, but I don't remember playing it. And I asked my daughter, she's like, no, we didn't play this. So if we played it, it was so long ago we don't remember, so I'm counting it as new. The Wutai Mountain expansion was really interesting. It adds a whole nother level of obnoxious superpowers to the game that already is full of obnoxious superpowers, and makes for a satisfying brain puzzle to go on top of the other puzzles you're having. I like it quite a bit. Worth the $20 or whatever I spent on it to add to the content of Motainai, which is already amazing. I've gotten to play that a few more times, and it's reminding me how much I like Chudok games. It also tells me I really need to get Glory to Rome to the table, which, as a reminder, I have my own homemade copy of that. I haven't purchased a copy, but if they ever bring it back in print, I certainly will. And then the other expansion that we got to try is the spring expansion for Welcome To, which again, I feel like I played, and my wife and I thought it seemed familiar, but I didn't remember it precisely. This one is really interesting because you are supposed to get points by circling eggs in the game. Some of the houses have eggs on them, which is sort of connected to Easter and spring, and you get points by circling them using numbers that have circles in them, so 9s and 6s and 10s and 8s. And you're only allowed to circle one egg, you use a 9 or a 6. And to circle 2 eggs, you have to use a 10 or an 8. And then you get points based on how many eggs you got. It's an interesting mechanism, and the places that the eggs are is infuriating, that they're moved around in a way that makes them hard to use. I was trying really hard to get the achievement of winning by accomplishing all 3 bonus goals, and I just couldn't get to it. It was pretty frustrating. I still did win, though, so I can't complain too much. And then we played the Doomsday scenario as well, and I really, really scored a lot of points on the Doomsday scenario, which my wife was frustrated with because I won by such a huge margin. But then I looked back at our previous record, and she had won the last couple games that we'd played by quite a healthy margin, also. So my wife remembers losing more than she remembers winning, which makes it, and then she's like, you always win. I'm like, no, if you look back, it's about half and half. Nonetheless, Welcome To still continues to be a very enjoyable game. I really like it. So if you get a chance, worth a try. Well, that's about it for me today. If you haven't had a chance to go listen to the Game Fight Show Throwdown Bracket next week, we started the quarterfinals now, so we're down to the last 8 games in the bracket. Next week we'll be down to 4 games, or late next week we'll be down to 4 games, and then we'll be down to 2 games. So the brackets are getting smaller and smaller. So go over there and vote at Game Fight Show on Twitter. And give us an idea of what games you think should win in the combat between games to see which is better. I don't know. It's silly. It's really silly. If you haven't listened, go do it. It's really fun, and it's only about 10 minutes, so half of one of these episodes. Or, pop over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and let me know what you've been playing. I hope that you're having a pleasant time, or at least as pleasant as you can given the worldwide quarantine. And I look forward to next time that we talk. Until then, thanks for listening. I hope your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.